Am I the a-hole to ask my husband to block his female friend, who warned him not to marry me? I, 26F, want my husband, 27M, to immediately block one of his friends, Kyla, 27F. He thinks I'm overreacting and wants opinions from some cool-headed people on if I am just acting crazy. Or this is something that would cross the line for you. My husband has a group of 8 friends he has been close with since his college days. Kyla is one of his friends. When my husband and I started dating, he introduced me to all of them, and everyone was very friendly. I used to hang out with them frequently. I am an introvert, and so is my husband. I would always ask him to spend time alone, as being in social settings just saps all my energy away. His friends, and especially Kyla, always made it a point to tell me how he hangs out with them less after he started dating me. Kyla also had a weird energy around me. If I was with my husband, she would be the friendliest with me. However, as soon as he walked away, she acted like I did not exist. My husband hates to be touched by others, we both are indeed. But Kyla would always tease him by trying to hug him, mess his hair, etc. I never felt she was flirting with him, but just teasing him to make him annoyed. Overall, she just feels like a person who has a severe social boundary issue. We got married 2 years ago, and things have been great between us. Last week, we had our second marriage anniversary and invited a bunch of people. His friends stayed back after all the guests left, and we were all drinking and chatting. One of his friends, Jen, became a bit tipsy and started complimenting me on how beautiful our house is, how I care for my husband, and how he has changed for the better since marriage. Everyone was laughing at my husband at how much of a slob he was when he was single. Jen then pointed at Kyla and said, "You better pay up, 'cause you had bet that their marriage would not even last for 2 years. Everyone became silent and started changing the topic. I also did not want to spoil the mood and let it go, but it stuck in my head. After everyone left, I asked my husband what Jen was talking about. He also had noticed Jen saying that and was ready with a full explanation. He told me the story of what happened when we got engaged. When he proposed to me, he had not told his friends that he was going to do that. We went on a trip to Puerto Rico, and he surprised me there. We put our engagement pictures on Instagram while we were on the trip, and it was a big surprise to everyone as we were only dating for 1 year. When he came back and met all his friends, everyone congratulated him. However, Kyla started ranting about how he was a fool to propose so quickly, and she felt that I was not the right girl for him. Seems like she said some unkind things about me, implying I was a gold digger. My husband's family is wealthy, but so is mine. She had said that she bet we would break up within 2 years if we got married. That is why Jen was taunting her about how happy my husband was with me. I was very furious at this point, as I feel this is something he should have told me. I asked him to tell me truthfully if he had ever dated Kyla or had any history with her, as he has always told me that he has never dated anyone from his friend group. He said that he has of course not dated or hooked up with Kyla. However, Kyla had asked him out a few times when they were in college, and he always politely declined. I asked why he said no to her, and he said he just does not have any romantic feelings for her. I can see that because my husband does have a type, based on me, or the other people he has dated in the past, and Kyla is the opposite of that. I am just mad at her for saying bad things about me, especially after knowing that we were already engaged and betting against my marriage. I told my husband that he needs to minimize contact with Kyla, and she is not invited to parties at our house anymore. He feels I am being too harsh for something she said almost 3 years ago. He also pointed out that she has been very supportive to both of us, and also helped a lot during our wedding arrangements. He feels she is just blunt and forthright when she speaks, but does not mean those things. He told me to take some time and calm down, and we would revisit this topic in a week. He is worried this will completely change the dynamics within his friend group. Am I the age for wanting him to block her and stop inviting her to our house? Do you think I am overreacting? I think betting against our marriage and bad-mouthing me behind my back seems like a huge betrayal. I'm also mad at my husband that he kept this fact from me, and also never told me that Kyla asked him out during college days. Am I just being crazy and reactive? How would you react in this situation? I don't want to distance my husband from his friends, but I also do not want to see that bitch Kyla's face again. Update 1. Things were really horrible for the last few months, and that bitch Kyla almost ruined my life. I don't even know how to describe it. I might write about it next week, as I saw a lot of messages asking for an update. I just want other women to be careful of such snakes. Update 2. I had posted almost 6 months ago regarding my husband's friend Kyla betting that our marriage would not last for more than 2 years. I was upset and had asked my husband to stop talking to her because she disrespected our marriage. Since then, Kyla has pulled some really pathetic shit to stir up issues between my husband and I. After I wrote the post, my husband was trying to convince me that Kyla was just joking when she made those comments, and it happened so long ago. Kyla messaged me the next day apologizing to me for her comments, and also not making more efforts to connect with me. I accepted her apology and started warming up to her. She started inviting me for brunches and girls' night out with them, and I felt included in their friend group. One day during brunch, I brought up why Kyla really thought our marriage would not work out. Kyla told me that my husband broke up with his long-term ex-girlfriend Joanna 2 months before he started dating me. I knew that part, but Kyla told me that my husband was really heartbroken after the breakup and swore to her that he would stay away from dating anyone. When he met me, my mom set us up on a blind date. She was surprised how quickly we hit it off. Kyla thought that I was his rebound relationship, but when he proposed to me within a year, she was worried that he was making a very rash decision. My husband's family is rich, and she thought it was unwise for him to marry so quickly without knowing me well. She did not know enough about me, and that my family is also very well off. That is why she was concerned that I was taking advantage of his vulnerable state. She apologized to me and said that it was wrong for her to assume that, and over the years, she has seen how happy we are together. I appreciated her honesty in Kyla, and I became good friends since then and started hanging out more frequently. Around 2 months ago, my husband went to a conference in Seattle for 3 nights. After he came back, I got a "Hey girly" message on Instagram from Joanna, his ex. She told me that my husband contacted her a few months ago, and they met in Seattle during the conference, and she could give me more proof if I wanted. I went through my husband's Instagram, but he seems to have blocked her. I made a mistake of mentioning it to Kyla, as she was the only person honest to me about Joanna, and she went into detective mode to help me. She was still friends with Joanna on Instagram, as they all went to college together, and opened her profile. The message sent to me was from a different profile, with no followers. We checked her photos, and we saw that she attended the same conference as my husband did in Seattle. Kyla suggested I should ask Joanna for more proof, and also asked my husband about the same before assuming the worst. I asked my husband if he met Joanna, and he said yes. He told me he just met her in the expo hall, and chatted with her for a few minutes. I asked him why he did not mention it to me, and he told me it was just a quick conversation, and he did not think too much of it. He asked me how I knew it, and I told him that Kyla mentioned that she saw her pictures at the conference, and I thought he might have seen her. I messaged Joanna again to share more proof. She told me that they have been chatting for the past 2 months and plan to attend the conference together. She shared a log of their messages, where my husband was actively flirting with her. The screenshots did look legit, but I did not see any of those messages in my husband's Instagram profile. I talked to Kyla about it, as I did not know what to believe. I messaged Joanna to tell us what happened between them, and she told me that he invited her to the room at nights and they hooked up, but she does not have any photos as he insisted. They do not take any pictures together. I immediately realized it was fake and messaged Joanna to fuck off. She kept on insisting they were telling the truth, and she spent the nights with my husband in his room on all 3 nights. I told her that my husband and I were playing video games, Sea of Thieves, for almost 2 to 3 hours each night after his dinner, as that is what we do to catch up when he is away. Unless Joanna was sitting behind him watching us play until he fell asleep, she was full of shit. I also told my husband about the whole incident, and he told me I should have come to him sooner. He told me that he has gone no contact with Joanna ever since they broke up, and he just ran into her at the conference. He told me I could check his phone and everything to verify that he has blocked her everywhere. I told him I do not need to, and Joanna might have run into him and just decided to fuck his life by making up stuff. When all the friends met that weekend, my husband and I told everyone about how Joanna sent messages to me and faked everything. Kyla was also telling what happened as she had told her about it. Kyla accidentally let it slip out that it's luckily we are nerds and played video games at nights before sleeping. Else, props go to Joanna for making up a convincing story. I never told Kyla about the video game stuff. I just told her Joanna is full of shit, and I blocked her. It took me until I came home to connect the dots. I told my husband about it, and he confronted Kyla. She denied it and told him that I told her about the video game stuff on a phone call, but I don't remember doing it. We have since decided to keep our distance from Kyla. Kyla has called me multiple times to meet up, but I just make up reasons that I am busy. I do not know why she did it, but at this point, I am not interested in it. And we have decided to just see her on social occasions and avoid hanging out with her as much as possible. I feel stupid that she played me for a fool, and I should have not gone to her when Joanna started messaging me. In hindsight, it seems suspicious that Kyla started telling me about Joanna, and at the same time, Joanna claimed to have an affair with my husband. I do not know what her intentions are, but I am mad enough that I will avoid her as much as possible. I wish I had some real proof that she was the one messaging me, so that I could expose her. I also feel bad for suspecting my husband, but I'm glad my husband and I are on the same page now. Story 2. Would I be the a-hole for asking my husband if he's cheating after he secretly bought lingerie that was too small for me? I'm trying to figure out if there's a reasonable explanation behind this, because I can't believe he would cheat on me. My husband and I have been married for years and raised 2 beautiful children. He's always been a loving, romantic, affectionate, perfect husband. I never had any doubts about him. I have an athletic body. I'm very healthy, but I am not small. We have joint finances, and I noticed an unusual purchase. My husband bought expensive lingerie arriving today. I looked into it. On one hand, it's too small for me and built for a petite skinny woman with no muscles. And I have never worn lingerie. I don't even know if I would be confident in lingerie. And he knows my size. He's bought clothes for me before, including underwear, and has never been wrong. This is clearly the wrong size. Way too small for me. The brand has undercarriage, waist, and hip sizes. My husband is handsome and has women throwing themselves at him. I have no doubt that if he wanted to, he could easily get an affair partner. On the other hand, it could conceivably be an insanely tight fit on me. And he's shipping it to our home address instead of his office. He didn't have anything incriminating on his phone, but we share phones, so it could mean nothing. Would I be the a-hole for confronting him about the lingerie? I don't want my husband to feel that I don't trust him, but I don't have any other explanations. Update. The lingerie arrived this morning. I wasn't home. I do errands in the morning on weekends. I have a routine. I read a lot of comments, although I couldn't read all of them. I got a lot of creepy DMs, but a few supportive ones. I still emphatically believe in my heart that my husband wouldn't cheat on me. So I gathered up my courage and came home earlier than I usually do. I tried to talk to my husband, but he told me to go get ready for dinner. On the nightstand was a box with the lingerie. He gives me gifts like that sometimes on the nightstand or on the bed. I can't explain how much relief I felt. It was honestly so beautiful and delicate with lace and straps and a floral design. But then I tried it on. And it was way too small and incredibly tight. I'm toned and in great shape, especially for my age, but it just made me feel lumpy and ugly. I'm insecure about my looks and age. I'm not as beautiful as I once was. My husband knocked a few minutes later as I was crying and asked if I needed help putting it on. I told him no, but he still came in and I felt uglier and an emotional mess. He looked excited and told me I looked beautiful. I told him it was too small and he asked me where and how it felt, and I eventually broke down and told him that it gave me rolls and extra lumps and how I saw the transaction, and I was afraid he didn't want me anymore because the lingerie was too small and frilly for me, and we hadn't been intimate in weeks and a bunch of other emotional stuff. He coaxed me into calming down and being intimate. And getting all of that stuff off my chest helped me calm down. And then we talked some more. I apologized for ever thinking he could betray me, and my husband forgave me. He apologized for being distant and making me needy. I told him I couldn't believe that I freaked out over him making a mistake in sizing for the first time. He said he didn't make a mistake. He bought it too small on purpose because he liked the idea of me uncomfortable and squirming in too small lingerie. It made sense. The top and bottom wasn't the absolute smallest size, but just large enough that I could squeeze in and be incredibly uncomfortable. Some of the accessories were the right size for me. He said he thought I would be uncomfortable but didn't think I would cry or be desperate for his affection, and he liked it a lot and wants to continue exploring this. I told him we had to do it with cheaper lingerie. It's odd, but whatever floats his boat. I'm glad he was honest about what he likes, because he could have just gone along with my assumption that he made a mistake in sizing and didn't double check. I don't think we're going to make it to dinner. We're probably going to have takeout, which the kids love. Edit. There was no dinner reservation planned, it was just a ruse. And for other stuff, I didn't want too much information about my kids out there, but I still got a few creepy DMs. So I definitely want to warn people about that. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for what I, 26F, said to my boyfriend, 28M, in front of his friends? A little background. We've been going out since high school and have a very joke-y relationship. Poking fun for the most part isn't out of the question. Though if one of us says we aren't comfortable with one of the jokes, the other makes an effort not to make it again. For the most part, more context coming. I have been a bit of an obsessive fan of a music artist since I was 14. I have more than one tattoo inspired by this artist and her aesthetic. I have seen her in concert multiple times. I own more merch than I can say, and have run several different fan accounts devoted to her during this time. I understand this is weird. I try not to bring it up in everyday conversation because I am aware it is weird. Most people who know me in passing do not know this about me, and only my best friend and my boyfriend know about my fan accounts. I am not the person who talks about this artist constantly. I am not the person who is annoying in large groups about it anymore. There was a learning curve when I was in high school, but losing friends is a great motivator to fix yourself. My boyfriend has on and off made jokes about this since we got together. Admittedly, whenever I bring up that it makes me feel insecure and unsafe expressing myself around him, he stops for a while. But he always starts up again, and it just bothers me. I can't fully explain it, but it makes me feel like the things I like are somehow inherently bad, and that he wants me to stop having this interest because he doesn't see value in it. Now, he's never said that, and I don't genuinely believe that, but that's how he makes me feel. An example. I had been cleaning dishes and listening to her music when he came into the kitchen and started singing along in the most high-pitched, off-key falsetto voice I had ever heard, before busting up and turning it off and saying something like, "I don't see how you listen to this crap." This was one of the times I told him that he had hurt my feelings. He apologized, explained that he had only meant it as a lighthearted joke, and that he didn't care what kind of music I listened to. I don't really get mad over this. It just hurts my feelings. Context out of the way. We were out at dinner with his friends and their girlfriends, and I had left to go to the bathroom and came back to him showing them a video on his phone, and the audio was familiar right away. It was a performance from over a decade ago that was panned pretty universally. They were all laughing and he was making a lot of jokes until he noticed I had gone quiet and said to lighten up. I tried to smile, but he wouldn't drop it, and I said, "I don't like your music either, but I would never make fun of you for it, you know that?" It was a quiet meal and ride home, and he is now barely talking to me. Two of the girlfriends there said I made everything awkward, and that I was being unfair because we always made jokes with each other. Am I the a-hole? Update. So, a lot of people private message me and help me work through everything regarding my now ex, including being a shoulder to cry on when I realized it wasn't going to work out, and I guess I felt I owed them an update if they were interested. Not to mention the great advice I received in the comments on the original. I am deeply thankful to so many of them. A few in particular who disagree with my take also helped me see where he may have been coming from and helped me to figure out how I was going to talk to him about everything. So I did apologize for bringing it up publicly. I know that many people disagree with me that I should, but personally, I've always been the type to want to handle any grievances I may have with a loved one privately, rather than publicly, and I didn't like that fact that I allowed myself to break that rule, around his friends no less. He thanked me for that, but really didn't want to dig into why he felt the need to make a joke out of it. I asked if it was because I had been bringing her music up more than usual, due to her being active in the media currently, but he denied this. Still, I continued to press, explaining that we needed to move past this one way or another because if he continued to mock/ridicule my interest, it was going to make me slowly resent him, something I really didn't want, but couldn't deny would happen if he continued to act like a bully. Eventually, after a lot of pressure, he explained that this had all started because he had complained to his friends privately about me last year, during the lead-up to her album release, and they didn't like the fact that I was a fan of this artist and made some political assumptions about her based on her lyrical content from over 10 years ago, teasing boyfriend for having a wannabe trad wife girlfriend, and other things that he was resentful of, including but not limited to asking if I had daddy issues, or if I had a history of sleeping with older men. I am heavily sanitizing the language used, because some of what was said was disgusting, honestly. Basically, It boiled down to him trying to shame me into not liking the artist anymore, so he wouldn't have to deal with his friends anymore, rather than just shutting them down. I couldn't be in a relationship like that. I just couldn't. The fact that every time I had felt awful about myself and my interest for the past year, and just thought I was being oversensitive to a joke, it was actually the point to make me feel bad. It destroyed any hope I had for the relationship. I won't lie. I've been pretty heartbroken. The breakup was shortly after the first post and I've just gotten around to updating. So yeah, no big blowout with dramatics, no secret affair, or anything, just a man trying to make me feel small because he didn't know how to tell his friends to piss off. Boring, but depressing as fuck.